Alright, today we're going to tie a pearl rabbit jig. I'm tying these to use on jig spinners. This is what it's going to look like. Let's start a new one for you. Jig we're using is a 1/16 ounce. This one's painted ruby shoes, so it's red with red flake in it. Thread we're using is 210 white. Sorry about how shaky that is, just realized that. Go ahead and lay thread all the way down to the bend in the hook. And cut that free. Then we're using rabbit zonker is the tail. So I got a short piece here. Bring your, advance your thread to the hook point, and we're going to tie in right there. Make sure you capture the hide and bind it down all the way to the bend of the hook. Make sure that's really bound in there. If you want to use some super glue on it, go ahead. I don't use super glue, but it's definitely not a bad idea if that's something that you like. I'm going to start separating the fibers here, pulling up a little bit. You want to get yourself a nice tail, not too thick, not too thin. It really comes with practice, knowing how much to separate out. That looks like a good amount right there. You can see. So you just want to pull that up, and we're gonna be really careful when you cut this. You don't want to cut too much off, and then you're always gonna nick a little bit on either side of it, but that's gonna be the tail right there. I'm gonna put a little more thread down just to like level out the body here. The tail tends to get really thick when you're tying in hide like that. So bring your thread back about to the hook point, and now we're using pearl chenille. This is this color's pearl, but it's basically a white. And this is the medium size. Pull a little bit off to expose the cord, and bind that down back to the bend in the hook. Bring your thread back to the jig head and tight wraps forward. While you're wrapping forward on this, make sure to stroke all the parts of the chenille back while you're wrapping it. It has a tendency to just bind down on itself, and you don't want that. You want it to have a nice bulky little body. Sorry, I just noticed my fingers in the way. Sorry about that. But it's basically how you've got to tie the jig, is holding it in place. And I'm tying with a longer piece of chenille because I plan on doing, half a dozen of these today. Make sure you're getting nice, tight, close together wraps, and you're going to build a nice bulky body here. Pearl chenille can build a thinner body if you space it out more. Like if you, kind of like a open wrap, you can get a thinner body with it. But we want a nice solid body right like that. Go ahead and catch that. Get one more wrap around it, and we'll lay a few wraps down here. Go ahead and clip the chenille off, and then we're going to whip finish, and the jig is done. And you can tie these in a bunch of different colors. I'm going to be tying them up in all chartreuse, some purple. That's the jig right there. This is it's a great little jig to use by itself even, or under a float. But I'm going to be using these predominantly on jig spinners. Plain, normal zonkered rabbit strips and pearl chenille. Here's the two packages.